And then because you're telling yourself that you're wrong for feeling the negative feelings, you end up layering shame on top of whatever that baseline feeling is. And shame, my friend, is never, ever, ever good for your mental health. You're listening to the Life Edit Project podcast, where busy, ambitious high achievers get the tools they need to fight perfectionism and overwhelm so they can smash their goals without all the drama. I'm your host, recovering overachiever turned professional life coach, Elizabeth Burrows. Let's get to it. Good day, good people. Welcome back to the Life Edit Project podcast. I am your most favoritist life coach and podcast host, Coach Elizabeth, and I am very excited for today's episode. As always, I have a juicy conversation for you today in what is the second installation of our 5-part mini-series for Mental Health Awareness Month. That's right, folks. If y'all don't know, the month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and so we are talking about mental health all month long here on the show. Today, in particular, I want to tackle a topic of toxic positivity. Say that 5 times fast. I want to tackle toxic positivity because, one, I have so many thoughts about this particular phenomenon, and I also know that toxic positivity can have real impacts on our mental health. And truth be told, I have been wanting to dig into the topic of toxic positivity for quite some time. So I don't know what's taken me so long to get to this topic, but now is as good a time as any to go for it, right? So here we are. But first, a special announcement, y'all. I am bringing back the Ask Me Anything Q&A episode. Yay! Okay, so if you are a longtime listener, you may recall that back in season 1, last season, I hosted 2 separate Ask Me Anything episodes, and it was super fun, y'all. So let's keep the party going and let's do it again. Here's how it works. In the show notes for this episode, you will find a link to a form that you can fill out and submit your question. It's a very, very short form, and you're going to give me just enough information to give me what I need to be able to give you a helpful response. You can ask me anything. No topic is off limits, and you can also submit as many questions as you want. And yes, you can remain completely anonymous so that you can keep your business off of Front Street. That's totally fine. Get your questions submitted by Saturday, June 1st for a chance to have me respond to your question here on the podcast on episode 55. That is when I will be doing the Ask Me Anything episode. So definitely get those responses in. If you want to check out previous Ask Me Anything episodes, check out episode 10 and episode 20 way back in season 1. I cannot wait to hear what questions you have for me, and I cannot wait to offer you my perspective on whatever it is that you got going on in your life. Now is the time to get a response and a perspective from a professional life coach. Holla at your girl. Okay, so that's the announcement. Now, let's talk about what we're talking about today. We are talking about toxic positivity. I'm going to explain what it is, what it ain't, and what makes toxic positivity toxic to begin with. But first, I'm going to go on a little rant because it's my show and I can do that. Ready? Let's go. All right, y'all. So I was on social media the other day, and another coach that I follow, I forget who, she posted something on Threads about a negative experience that she was having. And she posted this, she made this thread post. What do you call threads when you post them? Do you call them threads? I think you do. I don't know. So she made this thread post essentially in almost real time, right? So it was like the situation was happening and unfolding. She went ahead and posted essentially an emotional reaction to this real life situation. So basically, she bought a ticket to a music festival and she had to travel to get there. So she had boarded her flight and was in the air when she found out that the event had been canceled. And she said that she didn't even get like an official email from the event organizer. It's like she found out on social media or something like that. And she found out less than 24 hours before the event. And so in this thread that she posted, she mentioned that she was very upset. And actually the word that she used was seething. She said she was seething, right? So she was very, very angry. So there were all kinds of people who were up in her comments, mostly commiserating with her, including, I think, some other people who had bought tickets for the same event. But then I noticed this one person that responded to her saying basically that because she was a life coach, this was not how she was supposed to react. She was not supposed to be seething, that her job was literally to enjoy the mishap or to turn it into an opportunity for something else. And that if she couldn't do that right there in that moment, basically she wasn't a good coach. And here's the part where I rant. Y'all, life coaches are people too. We have real feelings and we are subject to the same mood swings and outbursts and negative feelings that literally everybody else in the world experiences. Being a life coach doesn't magically exempt me from getting mad or depressed or frustrated or, yes, even seethingly mad, right? And sure, I probably have more tools in my toolkit to deal with what comes up, and the way I handle myself when feelings like that come up might be more disciplined and more intentional than your average bear. Yeah, sure. But being a life coach doesn't mean that I'm going to feel happy to spend my precious little coins to travel to an out-of-town event that gets canceled with so little notice that I don't even have time to change my travel plans and get an airline credit. There is no life coaching certification that will make me not feel the feels in that situation. And honestly, telling anyone that they need to enjoy that experience or else they are wrong is absolutely and 100% ridiculous. And it's a perfect example of toxic positivity in action. So, what is toxic positivity? Well, first, I want to make it super clear that toxic positivity is not the same as plain old-fashioned optimism or even positive thinking. Optimism, if I could put a little Coach Elizabeth definition onto it, optimism is a perspective where you believe in the future possibility of a positive outcome. Right? That's very simply and plainly put. Positive thinking, however, is more of a mindset strategy where you deliberately cultivate the kinds of thoughts that help you feel the kinds of feelings that support you in taking the kind of action that you need to take in order to produce a desirable outcome. I know I said a whole mouthful. Rewind it if you need to hear it again. But essentially, positive thinking is thinking the things that help you do the things to get the thing that you want, right? And this is also why positive thinking often gets kind of wrapped up and used synonymously as manifestation, right? Manifesting the thing you want, right? Focusing your thoughts in such a way that you are better positioned to create what you want, right? So toxic positivity is different than both of those things. Now, both optimism and positive thinking can totally be helpful. They are valid and adaptive behaviors that can help you deal with the things when life starts lifing. But toxic positivity is different. Toxic positivity is a pattern of denying, dismissing, and avoiding unpleasant or negative feelings and experiences. One more time. Toxic positivity is a pattern, not just a one-time incident, but a pattern of denying, dismissing, and avoiding unpleasant or negative feelings and experiences. And the thing that I don't want you to miss about toxic positivity is that it's toxic. Ding, ding, ding. As in, it's bad for you. Toxic positivity can have a lot of different negative impacts on your mental health and on your emotional well-being. And today, I just want to talk about a couple because I ain't got that much time, y'all. And I don't want to make this episode any longer than it has to be. So, the first way that toxic positivity can be detrimental to your mental health is that it creates more intensely negative feelings. That's right. In your quest for positivity, you end up creating the negative. So toxic positivity just simply does not leave room for feelings or experiences that aren't strictly positive. And it's based on the underlying belief that unpleasant feelings and experiences are negative, and that negative is bad, and therefore bad is wrong. Toxic positivity makes it wrong for you to feel or experience anything outside of what is good or pleasant. But the thing about being a human is that it's actually impossible to live a life that is completely free of unpleasant or negative feelings and experiences. It's going to happen. There will be pain and heartache and disappointment and anger and loss and loneliness and jealousy and boredom and restlessness. And all of those things are going to come up even if you have a good, comfy, and safe life. If you are poor, or if you are a person of color, or if you are a woman living in a patriarchal society, or disabled, or neurodivergent, or queer, or any other type of status that is not the general norm, there is a good chance that you will also experience violence and oppression and tragedy and other kinds of trauma. And oftentimes, it makes perfect sense to feel something other than happy, other than grateful, other than content when you have these kinds of negative and unpleasant human experiences. It is not wrong to feel angered in the face of oppression or injustice. It is not wrong to feel sad or depressed if you have been wronged or attacked. Also, it is not realistic or even a good idea to try to be in a constant state of pleasure or happiness. Just like constant pleasure seeking is a maladaptive behavior, trying to completely avoid negative feelings is also maladaptive. And when those negative feelings and experiences that are unavoidable in life, when they happen, you are unprepared for them because you're engaging in toxic positivity, or you resist them, and that just intensifies the negative feelings. And then because you're telling yourself that you're wrong for feeling the negative feelings, you end up layering shame on top of whatever that baseline feeling is. And shame, my friend, is never, ever, ever good for your mental health. So your effort to completely avoid negative feelings ends up intensifying and creating more negativity. And y'all, the hard parts of life are already hard enough. So just say no to toxic positivity. You don't need it. And it doesn't even work that well. Okay. The second reason why toxic positivity is bad and detrimental to your mental health is because it damages our relationships with others. So in the first example, I was just really talking about the impact that toxic positivity has on our relationship with ourselves when we are the ones subjecting ourselves to the rules of toxic positivity. But when you project this belief outward, when you believe that the people around you shouldn't feel or display negative feelings, you create distance in your relationships. And you can totally relate to this if you've been on the receiving end of toxic positivity. So let's say you're going through a rough situation and you turn to a friend or a family member looking for a little support. But instead of supporting you and validating your feelings, they tell you that you need to change the way you feel. They tell you that you need to cheer up or calm down or just be grateful, right? Maybe you're not even going through a rough situation, right? Maybe you're just a woman walking down the sidewalk, minding your own business and thinking your own private thoughts, and a random man on the street tells you that you should smile instead of looking so serious, right? That you should be displaying a different kind of feeling. Get real, right? So it is not fun and it is not helpful and it is not supportive to be on the receiving end of toxic positivity. And those kinds of reactions can be very alienating. And if you consistently get those kinds of reactions from the people around you, you end up learning that those people are not a safe outlet for your feelings. You stop confiding in them. You stop saying what you feel. And eventually you stop showing up as your authentic self in the presence of these people. Whether you are the one who subscribes to this type of philosophy or you are the one who is being subjected to it by someone else, toxic positivity creates rifts in your relationships and it shrinks your circle of support. And when you have less support, you end up putting more strain on your mental health. Toxic positivity, say it with me, it is not good for your mental health. And a third and final reason that I'm going to address in today's show why toxic positivity is detrimental to your mental health is because it makes it harder to heal. One of the more subtle aspects of toxic positivity is how it doesn't just deny the existence of negative experiences. No, that would be really easy to counteract, right? But instead, toxic positivity, it downplays negative experiences so much that we convince ourselves that the negativity we see isn't worth our time and attention. We say, yes, this thing exists, but it's not a problem. Therefore, I don't need to solve it. This stab wound, it isn't a stab wound. It's just a paper cut. Oh, those men, they aren't misogynists. They're just making locker room talk. That wasn't a racist microaggression. That person just didn't see me standing there. No, my boyfriend isn't emotionally abusive. He's just a little possessive. No, I'm not depressed. I just don't feel like getting out of bed for the 32nd day in a row. No, I'm not scared of losing my job. I'm just a perfectionist. And on and on. Whether you're dealing with an everyday challenge that's part of the normal up and down of life, or you're walking around with unresolved childhood trauma, you cannot heal what you're unwilling to examine. And you cannot change what you tell yourself you don't need to confront. And ultimately, you will never make the initiative to solve whatever you tell yourself is not a real problem. But guess what? Ignoring these kinds of challenges doesn't make them go away. Just like ignoring your negative feelings doesn't make them go away. The antidote to toxic positivity is not to wallow in your negative feelings. It is rather to allow them and accept them and to begin confronting your negative experiences so that you can move through them and past them. And now, if you are unpracticed at this, if you have just been trying to avoid the negativity for your whole life, if you have been the captain of team good vibes only, and you would not even know where to begin, you might need some help learning how to find the balance between optimism and toxic positivity, between accepting your negative feelings without succumbing to them and turning into a cynic. Right? But these are the kinds of skills that I can help you cultivate through my one-on-one coaching program. If you are interested in getting started, just use the link that is in the show notes to book a free sales call with me, and we can get started sooner rather than later. We will have a positively amazing experience working together, even though it might not always be fun. Okay, so tune in next week. I will be back in your ears as we continue our mental health mini-series. In the meantime, please practice feeling your feelings as they come, even if they're unpleasant. All right? Peace. Hey, thanks for tuning into this week's episode. If you have a question or a favorite insight from today's conversation, I would love to hear from you. Send me a message on social media. I'm in all the places. My handle is @LifeEditProject, all one word. And of course, my accounts are linked up in the show notes to make it easy for you, so holla at your girl. I'll be back in your ears next week with a fresh episode. Make sure that you are subscribed to the Life Edit Project podcast wherever you like to listen so that you don't miss a thing. Until then, peace.